Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today, NCS Multistage Holdings Incorporated just filed an 8K report announcing a major deal, and I am seeing one huge red flag that could impact shareholders. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. This deal looks like a big step for NCS, but the way they structured the payout could leave some investors with less than they expect. So what is going on here? NCS Multistage Holdings Incorporated, ticker NCSM on NASDAQ, has announced they are being bought by Weatherford International Incorporated. This is called a merger agreement signed on May 31st, 2026. Basically, North Carolina S will become a part of Weatherford. It is a pretty standard acquisition, but the details of how shareholders get paid are really interesting, and not entirely in a good way for everyone. The company NCS Multistage Holdings Incorporated is in the oil and gas equipment and services business. It has a market cap of around $149 million and employs 272 people. Recently, there has been a lot of buzz about this deal, with headlines like Weatherford announces definitive agreement to acquire NCS Multistage popping up around early June 2026. This signals a significant event for NCS and its investors. For those holding NCS common stock, which trades under the ticker NCSM on the NASDAQ capital market, the deal offers them a choice. They can either get all stock from Weatherford or a mix of cash and stock. This is where things get a bit tricky. Think of it this way, for every share of NCS you own, you can choose to get a certain number of Weatherford shares. That is the share consideration. Or you can choose a mix. This mix involves getting some cash and some Weatherford shares. The key here is that the cash part of the mix consideration has a maximum amount it can go to. This means if too many people want cash, they might not get the full amount they were expecting. This is a classic way for acquirers to manage their cash outflow in a deal. Now, what happens if you don't make a choice? Well, if you are silent, you automatically get the all stock option. This ensures all shareholders are treated in some way, but it might not be the way they would have preferred if they had a specific strategy in mind. For those holding stock options and other equity awards like restricted stock units or RSUs, things are also getting converted. Weatherford will take over these awards. RSU holders will get a number of Weatherford shares based on the same exchange ratio set for regular stock. Importantly, for some units called NCECUS. A limit on their value will be removed, which is good news for those holders. Now, for stock options, there is a crucial point. If your options exercise price, that is the price you pay to buy the stock, is higher than what the stock is worth, in this deal, your options will be cancelled. You will get nothing for them. This is a common feature in mergers, but it can sting if you hold options that are currently underwater, meaning they cost more to exercise than the stock is currently worth. The deal is expected to wrap up in the second half of 2026. For it to go through, they need a bunch of approvals. This includes things like antitrust reviews, making sure no laws block the deal, and getting a registration statement approved by the CC. That last part is important because it's where all the detailed information for investors will be presented. A pretty significant hurdle has already been cleared. As of May 31st, 2026, over half of NCS's shareholders have already given their written approval for this merger. This means NCS doesn't need to hold another big shareholder vote. That's a major win for moving the deal forward quickly. Like most big deals, there is an outside date of May 31st, 2027. If the merger isn't done by then, either side can walk away. There are also specific conditions under which NCS or Weatherford can terminate the agreement. For example, North Carolina S can walk if they get a better offer, provided they followed certain rules, and if one company breaches the agreement, the other might be able to terminate. And if things go south and the deal is terminated under certain situations, there is a breakup fee. If NCS terminates because Weatherford messed up key parts of the deal, Weatherford has to pay NCS $9.7 million. On the flip side, if NCS decides to go with a better offer, or if their board changes its mind about the deal, North Carolina S has to pay Weatherford $5.5 million. These fees are pretty standard to keep both parties committed. As mentioned earlier, the big news here is that the NCS stockholder consent has already been obtained. This is a really important step because it means no further shareholder vote is needed. NCS will still send out an information statement to shareholders to give them the details about the transaction. On the 1st of June 2026, NCS and Weatherford released a joint press release about this acquisition. It was titled, "Weatherford Announces Definitive Agreement to Acquire NCS Multistage, Expanding Completions, Portfolio, and Unconventional Resource Exposure." This press release is essentially an announcement to the public and investors, highlighting the strategic benefits of the deal. Now, a big part of these filings is what they call important additional information, and where to find it. This section is like a billboard telling investors where to look for more official documents. Weatherford plans to file what is called a registration statement on Form S-4 with the CSE this. Document will include a prospectus for the Weatherford shares that will be issued as part of the deal. NCS will also file an information statement. All these documents will be available on the CSE's website. And then there is the forward-looking statements section. This is where the companies try to protect themselves legally. They're essentially saying, hey, we're making some educated guesses about the future, but things might not turn out exactly as we say. They list out all the potential risks and uncertainties that could affect the deal or the combined company. Things like not getting regulatory approval, integration problems, or unexpected costs. It is a standard disclaimer, but it is important for investors to read and understand these potential roadblocks. They mention that the actual results could be very different from what they're predicting. Finally, we have the exhibits. This is where they actually attach the key documents. The most important one here is Exhibit 2.1, which is the full agreement and plan of merger itself. That is the legal contract governing the whole deal. Then there is Exhibit 99.1, the joint press release we talked about. Overall, this deal is a big step for NCS Multistage Holdings Incorporated. They're being acquired by a larger player, Weatherford International. The terms offer shareholders a choice between all stock or a mix of cash and stock. However, the potential cap on the cash portion of the mixed consideration is a definite point to watch for shareholders who might be relying on that cash component. For stock option holders, be aware that any options with an exercise price higher than the deal price could be worthless. The fact that a majority of shareholders have already approved the deal is a strong positive, suggesting the path to closing is relatively clear, barring any major regulatory or unforeseen setbacks. The key for investors now will be to track the S-4 filing and the prospectus to fully understand the value and implications of the Weatherford shares they will receive. The risk I am watching is how many shareholders will opt for the cash portion of the mixed consideration, and if that cap will be hit, potentially devaluing the deal for those shareholders. My biggest concern is for any option holders who might see their underwater options expire worthless. What I'm actually looking for is how the integration process plays out and if Weatherford can truly leverage NCS to expand its offerings, as the press release suggests. Oh, and the research tools I actually use are linked in the description. They help keep this channel going. That is my take. Stay decoded. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps. And subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description.